The radio crackles with static and desperation. Base, this is Ranger 26. We are pinned on down. Repeat, we are pinned down on the North Ridge with 4 critical casualties. Staff Sergeant Garrett Sutherland's voice cuts through the howling wind like broken glass. His hands are shaking, not from the cold, from what he's about to say next. Our medic is gone, buried in the avalanche. Reeves is KIA. We need immediate dust-off, but we have no LZ, no cover, and the enemy is closing in from 3 sides. The transmission ends in a burst of gunfire and screaming wind. Silence. Then the screen goes black. White letters fade in against the darkness. 48 hours earlier, the fluorescent lights in the briefing room at Fort Richardson cast harsh shadows across the faces of 12 Army Rangers. Outside, the Alaskan winter presses against the windows like a living thing. It's November 2018, and the temperature hasn't climbed above 0 in 2 weeks. Staff Sergeant Garrett Sutherland stands at the front of the room, 42 years old, 20 years of service etched into every line of his weathered face. He's seen combat in places most Americans can't find on a map. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. He's earned his authority the hard way, and every person in this room knows it. Every person except one. Callahan Reeves sits in the back row, barely visible behind the broad shoulders of the Rangers in front of her. She's 45 years old, 5'4", maybe 115 pounds soaking wet. Her uniform is crisp. Her dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun, streaked with silver at the temples. A scar runs down her left jaw, faded white against tan skin. Her face carries an expression that could be mistaken for serenity if you didn't look closely at her eyes. Her eyes are the color of glacial ice, Arctic blue, the kind of blue that comes from staring at frozen wilderness until you become part of it. Sutherland clicks to the next slide. A satellite image of the Brooks Range fills the screen. Hundreds of miles of jagged peaks and frozen valleys stretching toward the Canadian border. Mountains that have killed more climbers than enemy fire ever has. Mission brief is simple. His voice carries the flat authority of a man who's done this 1,000 times. 3 civilian aid workers taken hostage by a militia group operating out of an old mining compound in the Brooks Range. Intel says the hostages are alive but won't be for long. Weather window opens tomorrow at 600 hours and closes in 48 hours. After that, a blizzard moves in that'll shut down the entire region for a week, maybe 2. He clicks again. The compound appears on screen, a cluster of buildings clinging to the side of a mountain like a tumor, dark against white snow. Windows like dead eyes. Insertion by helicopter at dusk. We move on foot through Devil's Spine Ridge. Hit the compound at dawn, extract the hostages, and get out before the weather turns. He pauses. His gaze sweeps the room. Questions, a hand goes up. Sergeant Duncan Mallory, 38 years old, built like a tank and twice as subtle. His voice is rough from too many years breathing dust and gunpowder. Sir, Devil's Spine. That's avalanche country. One wrong step and the whole ridge comes down. Sutherland nods once. Noted. That's why we're bringing a combat medic. Every head in the room turns to look at Callahan. She doesn't flinch, doesn't smile, just meets their stares with those ice blue eyes and waits. Corporal Wade Brennan mutters just loud enough for everyone to hear. 31 years old. The team's unofficial morale officer. Great. The weakest link gets to patch us up when the mountain tries to kill us. Someone laughs. Not Callahan. She sits perfectly still. Her hands folded on the notebook in front of her. Her face shows nothing. Sutherland ignores it. Reeves, you'll carry standard combat medical load plus cold weather trauma supplies. Stay with the rear element with Private Dawson. If we take casualties, you move forward on my command. Clear. Clear, Sergeant. Her voice is quiet, almost gentle, the kind of voice that gets mistaken for weakness by people who don't know better. The briefing continues. Routes, rally points, communications protocols, emergency extraction procedures. Callahan takes notes in a small green notebook, her handwriting precise and unhurried. The scratching of her pen is the only sound she makes. When it's over, the Rangers file out in clusters. Talking tactics, was checking gear, voices echoing in the fluorescent-lit hallway. Callahan is the last to leave. Sutherland stops her at the door. Reeves, she turns. Sergeant. He studies her for a moment. This woman with the calm eyes and the quiet voice. He's read her file. 15 years of service. 3 combat deployments. Fort Sam Houston medical training. Advanced trauma certification. Cold weather operations specialist. Her file says she's good. Her file says she knows her job. But files don't tell you everything. This isn't a training exercise. Men might die out there. If things go sideways, I need to know you can handle it. Callahan meets his gaze without blinking. Her ice blue eyes hold his for 3 seconds. 4, 5. I can handle it, Sergeant. He wants to believe her. He really does. But 20 years of experience have taught him that wanting something doesn't make it true. That women in combat medicine are one thing. Women in the Brooks Range in November are another. That small and quiet doesn't survive when the mountain decides to kill you. See that you do. He walks away. Callahan stands alone in the empty briefing room for a moment. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. Outside, snow falls against the windows in thick, heavy flakes. The kind of snow that buries things. The kind that doesn't melt until spring. She opens her notebook to a blank page. At the top, she writes a single sentence in careful letters. They always underestimate me. Good. The memory comes without warning. The way memories of the dead always do. Callahan is 12 years old, standing in 3 feet of snow outside a cabin in Fairbanks. Her father has been dead for 6 days. Bush pilot. His Cessna went down in a whiteout over the Tanana Valley. They found the wreckage. They didn't find much of him. Her mother stands beside her, Maggie Reeves, holding a rifle. Not a hunting rifle, a precision instrument, a Remington 700 and .308 caliber. The kind of weapon you use when missing is not an option. Cold doesn't kill you, Callahan. Maggie's voice is hard. Not cruel, just hard. The way iron is hard, necessary. Panic kills you. Fear kills you. Giving up kills you. The cold is just cold. You respect it, you prepare for it, and you survive it. Callahan's hands are numb inside her gloves. The wind burns her face. She can barely feel her toes. Do you see the target 100 yards away? A paper silhouette stapled to a pine tree. Man-sized. Center mass marked with a red circle. Yes, ma'am. The wind is gusting at 20 miles per hour from your left. The temperature is 15 below zero. Your hands are shaking. Your nose is running. You can barely see through the tears in your eyes. Maggie's voice is clinical. A teacher stating facts. This is when most people miss. When they're cold. When they're scared. When they want to be somewhere else. She hands Callahan the rifle. Show me you're not most people. Callahan takes the weapon. It's heavy. Too heavy for a 12-year-old girl who just lost her father. But Maggie doesn't believe in waiting until you're ready. Maggie believes in being ready now. Callahan settles into her stance. Breathes. Finds the rhythm her mother taught her. Breathe in, breathe out. Between heartbeats, between thoughts, there's a space where the world goes quiet. She squeezes the trigger. The rifle kicks against her shoulder. The bullet flies 100 yards through wind and cold and grief. Center mass, dead center. Maggie nods once. Good. That was 33 years ago. Maggie is gone now too. Training accident, the Army said. Callahan knows better, but knowing doesn't change anything. The rifle is long gone. But the lesson remains. When they give up on you, that's when you show them who you really are. The next morning arrives with the kind of cold that makes your teeth ache. Callahan stands on the tarmac at Fort Richardson watching the Rangers load gear into the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter. Her medical pack weighs 45 pounds. Field supplies, trauma kit, IV fluids, chest seals, tourniquets, morphine, everything she might need to keep someone alive when the world is trying its hardest to kill them. The helicopter squats on the concrete like a massive insect. All hard angles and brutal efficiency. The rotors tick in the cold air. Metal contracting, settling. The crew chief runs pre-flight checks, his breath fogging in the freezing air. Private Eli Dawson approaches, 22 years old. Fresh face, nervous eyes. This is his first real mission. He's trying not to show it, failing. Senior Chief Reeves. Can I ask you something? It's petty officer. And yes, he hesitates. His Adam's apple bobs as he swallows. Are you scared? Callahan considers the question. Looks at this kid who's barely old enough to buy beer. Who's about to walk into a combat zone in sub-zero temperatures. She could lie. Tell him everything will be fine. That's what officers do. But Callahan doesn't lie. Yes, I'm scared. Fear means you understand the stakes, means you're paying attention. She adjusts her medical pack. The straps cut into her shoulders. The trick is not letting fear make your decisions for you. Dawson nods. Doesn't look reassured. Callahan doesn't blame him. Sutherland's voice cuts across the tarmac. Load up. We're wheels up in 5. The helicopter cuts through the twilight like a knife through silk. The UH-60 Black Hawk, engines screaming, rotors beating the frozen air into submission. Inside, 12 Rangers and 1 medic sit in 2 rows facing each other, weapons between their knees. faces hidden behind balaclavas and cold weather gear. The crew chief's voice crackles over the intercom. 5 minutes to LZ. Callahan checks her gear for the third time. Medical pack secured to her chest. M17 pistol on her hip. 17 rounds in the magazine. One in the chamber, no rifle. Medics don't carry rifles, they carry hope. And sometimes hope is heavier. Across from her, Private Eli Dawson sits with his eyes closed. Callahan can see his lips moving. Prayer maybe. Or just breathing exercises. Either way, she catches his eye and nods. He tries to smile. Almost succeeds. The helicopter banks hard. Callahan's stomach drops. Through the open door, she can see the Brooks Range spreading out below them like a frozen ocean. Peaks and valleys, ice and stone, beautiful and lethal. The crew chief holds up one hand, fingers spread. 4 minutes. Callahan closes her eyes, runs through her training, sucking chest wounds, arterial bleeding, hypothermia, shock, traumatic brain injury. She knows the procedures the way a pianist knows scales. Muscle memory deeper than thought. 3 minutes. The Rangers are checking weapons now. Charging handles racked. Safeties checked. Wade Brennan crosses himself and kisses a rosary that hangs from his neck. Sergeant Mallory stares at nothing, his face carved from granite. 2 minutes. Sutherland's voice cuts through the engine noise. Listen up, we move fast and we move quiet. Intel says the militia has approximately 20 fighters armed with AK variants and maybe 1 or 2 PKM machine guns. They're dug in, but they're not expecting us. We hit them hard, grab the hostages, and get out before they know what happened. 1 minute, the crew chief points down. Through the door, Callahan can see their landing zone, a flat stretch of ice between 2 ridges. The helicopter descends, rotors kicking up clouds of snow that swirl like ghosts in the dying light. 0. The skids touch down. The Rangers pour out like water from a broken dam. Weapons up, scanning for threats. Callahan is last out, weighted down by her medical pack. The rotor wash nearly knocks her over, but she keeps her feet. By the time she clears the helicopter, it's already climbing. Already gone, leaving them in the sudden, shocking silence of the Alaskan wilderness. The temperature is 35 below zero. The wind is gusting at 40 miles per hour. Visibility is maybe 50 feet, and they have 47 miles to go. They move in single file through the darkness, following a ridgeline that winds like a scar across the face of the mountain. Sutherland takes point, Mallory brings up the rear. Callahan is second to last, just ahead of Private Dawson. The kid is limping. Callahan noticed it 10 minutes into the march, a slight hitch in his stride, favoring his left leg. She moves up beside him. Dawson, let me see. I'm fine, ma'am. That wasn't a question. He stops. The Rangers ahead keep moving, putting distance between them. Callahan kneels in the snow and runs her hands down his left leg. When she touches his ankle, he hisses in pain. Sprain, probably twisted it on the helicopter landing. I can walk, I know. Can you run? Silence. Callahan pulls a compression wrap from her pack and binds his ankle tight. Not too tight. She needs to maintain circulation. Just tight enough to provide support. Her hands work with practiced efficiency, even through thick gloves. 1 minute, 90 seconds. This will hold for now. But if we make contact and you need to sprint, you're going to be in trouble. Stay close to me. If things go bad, you drop and I'll cover you. Understood? Dawson nods. He looks like he wants to say something else, but Sutherland's voice cuts through the darkness on the radio. Reeves, what's the holdup? Callahan keys her radio. Dawson has a minor ankle injury. Treating now. We'll catch up in 2 minutes. A pause. Then can he walk? Yes, Sergeant. Then move your ass. We're on a timeline. Callahan finishes the rap, helps Dawson to his feet. They start moving again. But the rest of the team is already out of sight around a bend in the ridge. From somewhere ahead, she hears Wade Brennan's voice, not bothering to whisper. Great. The kid's hurt, and the weakest link is playing nurse. This is going to be a shit show. Someone laughs. Callahan doesn't. They catch up 3 minutes later. Sutherland glares at her but says nothing. The march continues. 2 hours pass. The temperature drops another 5 degrees. Callahan's face feels like frozen leather behind her balaclava. Her fingers are going numb despite the expedition weight gloves. But she keeps moving. 1 foot in front of the other. Because that's what you do. You keep moving until you can't anymore. And then you keep moving anyway. The ridgeline narrows. On their left, a steep slope rises into the darkness. On their right, nothing. Just a drop that goes down and down and down into blackness so complete it feels like falling just to look at it. This is Devil's Spine. Callahan studies the slope as they move. She spent her whole life in Alaska, grew up in Fairbanks, 60 miles from here. Her mother taught her how to read terrain the way other mothers teach their daughters to read books. The angle of the slope, the wind direction, the way snow clings to rock, the sound it makes when you step on it, the smell of ice that's about to break. She sees something that makes her blood go cold, a cornice, a massive overhang of snow jutting out from the ridge above them like a frozen wave, held in place by nothing but luck and physics. It's unstable. Callahan can tell by the way the wind has carved it, by the cracks forming at its base, by the way moonlight catches the stress fractures running through the ice like veins. She's seen cornices like this before, seen what happens when they let go, seen the avalanche debris fields that stretch for miles, grinding everything in their path to powder. She keys her Wainu, Sergeant Sutherland, the slope above us is unstable. We need to maintain communications discipline, Reeves. His voice is sharp, annoyed. We're in hostile territory. Radio silence unless it's an emergency. Callahan releases the transmit button, looks up at the cornice, thinks about arguing, about explaining that an avalanche is an emergency even if it hasn't happened yet, decides against it. They never listen, not until it's too late. The team keeps moving, 20 yards, 50. The cornice looms above them, a guillotine blade of ice and snow, waiting for an excuse to fall. Callahan watches it, watches the way the wind tugs at it, watches the cracks spreading. She's maybe 100 yards past it when she hears the sound. From somewhere in the distance, faint but unmistakable. Boom, not close, maybe 2 miles away. But in the mountains, sound carries, sound echoes, sound travels through rock and ice and finds its way into snow that's been waiting for a reason to move. What was that? Someone asks, Militia Sutherland says. Probably mining operations or demolitions training. Doesn't matter, we keep the world ends in white. The cornice breaks free with a sound like God tearing paper. 10,000 tons of snow and ice cascading down the slope in a roaring wave of destruction that devours everything in its path. Callahan sees it coming, has maybe 2 seconds to react. She grabs Private Dawson by his harness and throws him forward with every ounce of strength she has, away from the path of the slide. He stumbles, catches himself, turns back. Run. But the avalanche is faster than running, faster than thought, faster than prayer. It hits her like a freight train made of frozen concrete. The world tumbles. Up becomes down, light becomes dark. Sound becomes silence, except for the roar that fills everything. That is everything, that crushes thought and breath and hope into nothing. Callahan tries to swim, tries to fight her way to the surface the way her mother taught her. Keep your arms moving. Create an air pocket. Don't panic. But there is no surface. There is only pressure and cold and the absolute certainty that she is going to die. She slams into something. A rock, a tree, doesn't matter. The impact drives the air from her lungs. She tries to breathe and fills her mouth with snow instead. It tastes like death, like the end of everything. Panic claws at her mind with frozen fingers. Her lungs are screaming. Her vision is going dark. She's going to die here, buried alive, alone, and nobody will ever know what happened to her. Panic kills you. Her mother's voice, cold and clear and impossibly calm. The cold is just cold. You respect it, you prepare for it, and you survive it. Callahan forces herself to go still. Stop fighting, conserve her oxygen. The avalanche is slowing now, the snow packing tight around her like a coffin made of ice, like a burial shroud that weighs 10,000 pounds. Then it stops. Silence, darkness, complete and absolute. Callahan is buried under 10 feet of snow, maybe more. She can't move her arms, can't move her legs, can't see, can't breathe. The snow has packed so tight around her face that she can't even open her mouth. Above her, muffled and distant like voices in a dream, she hears shouting. Casualties. Mallory is hit. Holbrook is bleeding. Brennan is down. That's Sutherland, his voice high and tight with something that might be fear or might be command. Hard to tell through 10 feet of ice and the roaring silence in Callahan's ears. Reeves, another voice. Mallory, desperate. Reeves, do you copy? Callahan tries to answer, tries to key her radio, but her arms are pinned and her radio might be broken anyway. And opening her mouth just fills it with more snow. She gags, coughs, uses up precious oxygen that she doesn't have to spare. Sir, we have to dig her out. Mallory again, pleading now. Where is she? Sutherland's voice, still in command, but fraying at the edges. I don't know. Somewhere under all this. The avalanche was 100 feet wide, footsteps above her, crunching snow, moving fast, frantic. Then Sutherland's voice again. Closer now, maybe right above her, maybe miles away, hard to tell. Reeves, Callahan, can you hear me? She tries to scream, opens her mouth. Snow fills it. She's choking, drowning on frozen water. This is how she dies. Sir. A different voice. Panicked. Young. Brennan has a sucking chest wound. He's drowning in his own blood. Holbrook's got arterial bleeding from his leg. I need a tourniquet now, or he's going to bleed out. Mallory is unconscious. Possible traumatic brain injury. Silence for 3 seconds. The longest 3 seconds of Callahan's life. Then Sutherland's voice. Harder now. The voice of command. The voice of a man making an impossible choice. How many casualties? 4. 4 critical, sir, and Reeves buried. Sir could be anywhere under 10 feet of pack ice. Could take an hour to find her. Could take another pause. Shorter this time. Sir, we can't just leave her. Sutherland's response comes like a judge reading a death sentence. Each word clear. Each word final. Brennan is dying right now. Holbrook is bleeding out right now. Dawson is going into shock, and Mallory needs immediate stabilization, or he's going to have a brain bleed that kills him. Reeves is under 10 feet of avalanche debris with no way to tell where she is or if she's even still alive. We don't have the time. We don't have the manpower. We don't have a choice, Mom. Sir, that's an order, Sergeant Mallory. Reeves is KIA. Mark this position for recovery later and get those litters ready. We move in 2 minutes. She could be alive down there. Then she's already dead because we can't reach her in time. A pause. When Sutherland speaks again, his voice is softer, sadder, but no less final. I'm sorry, but 4 men I can save are worth more than 1 I can't. That's the math. That's command. Now move. Footsteps moving away. Callahan hears it all, every word, every syllable, every death sentence wrapped in tactical necessity. They're leaving her, her team, her responsibility, the people she was supposed to keep alive, the people who were supposed to keep her alive. They're walking away and leaving her to die alone in the dark. Something breaks inside her chest, not her ribs, something deeper, the part of her that still believed in loyalty, in duty, in the promise that no one gets left behind, the promise they make to each other, the promise that turns soldiers into brothers and sisters and makes units into families. They lied. Or maybe they didn't lie. Maybe they just meant it for each other, for the real Rangers. Not for the small woman with the quiet voice who barely made the cut. Not for the medic who couldn't carry her share. Not for Callahan Reeves, who was always going to be expendable. She could give up now. Let the cold take her. Let the darkness win. It would be easy. Easier than digging, easier than fighting, easier than living with what they just did, easier than surviving just to see the faces of people who left her for dead. But Maggie Reeves didn't raise a quitter. Maggie Reeves raised a survivor. Callahan can't move her arms, so she moves her fingers. An inch at a time. The snow is packed tight, but it's still just frozen water. Still just molecules that can be moved if you're patient enough. If you're desperate enough. She can't breathe, so she holds what little breath she has left. Conserves it, makes it last. Her mother taught her that too. Breath control, the difference between living and dying underwater. And snow is just frozen water after all. She can't see, so she feels. Maps the space around her head. Finds the tiny gap between her face and the snow. Maybe an inch, maybe less. An air pocket created by the curve of her balaclava. Enough for maybe 30 seconds of breath. Maybe less. Her right hand breaks free. Just the fingertips at first. Then the whole hand. She digs. Claws at the snow above her face. Her lungs are screaming. Her vision is going dark at the edges. Black spots blooming like flowers in the darkness. She has maybe 30 seconds of consciousness left. 20 seconds. She digs faster. Both hands now, pulling snow down past her face, packing it beneath her body, creating a tiny air pocket around her head. It's not much, just enough to get one breath. One more second of life. 10 seconds. Her left hand punches through the surface. She feels wind, cold air, the touch of something that isn't death. 5 seconds. She pulls herself up, uses her arms like pistons, dragging her body through the snow, fighting for every inch. Her legs are still buried. Her medical pack catches on something. She rips it free, keeps climbing. Her face breaks the surface. She gasps, sucks in frozen air that burns her lungs like fire. Coughs, vomits snow, breathes again. The air is the most beautiful thing she's ever tasted. She's alive. Callahan pulls herself completely free and collapses on top of the avalanche debris, shaking, gasping, tears freezing on her face before they can fall. Around her, the mountain is silent. The team is gone. She can see their tracks in the snow, leading away toward the ridge. 12 sets of boot prints and 4 sets of drag marks from the litters carrying wounded men who need a medic. They left her. Callahan lies still for 10 seconds. 20. Lets the reality of it sink in. Lets herself feel it. The betrayal, the abandonment, the cold mathematical decision that her life was worth less than theirs. Then she sits up. Her radio is smashed. She can see the broken pieces hanging from her vest. Her rifle is gone, buried somewhere in the avalanche, probably bent or broken. But her medical pack is still strapped to her chest, somehow intact, and her M17 pistol is still in its holster at her hip. She draws the weapon, checks it, chambers around, 17 in the magazine. One ready to fire, 18 rounds total if she's careful. She checks herself for injuries, bruises everywhere, possible cracked rib on her left side. Her hands are torn and bleeding from digging. Nothing critical, nothing that will kill her. She stands on shaking legs and looks at the boot prints leading away into the darkness. She has a choice now, the same choice Sutherland made. Simple math, simple survival. She can go back, follow her own tracks to the landing zone, call for emergency extraction, save herself. Let the team face the consequences of their decision. Let them live or die based on their own choices. That would be justice. That would be fair. Or she can follow them, can track 12 men and 4 wounded through the most hostile terrain in North America, can try to keep 4 strangers alive after they left her to die, can risk her life for people who valued hers at exactly 0. In her mind, her mother's voice speaks one more time. When they give up on you, that's when you show them who you really are. Callahan checks her pistol one more time, adjusts her medical pack, tests her injured rib with careful fingers. It hurts, but it's not broken. She can move. She can fight. She can track. Then she starts walking. Not back toward the landing zone, not toward safety, toward the team that abandoned her, toward the 4 men who are dying because their medic isn't there, toward the people who need her, whether they deserve her or not. The wind howls, the temperature drops, the darkness deepens. Callahan Reeves walks into it without hesitation, because that's what medics do. They save lives, even the lives of people who left them to die. Callahan moves through the blizzard like a ghost hunting the living. No GPS, no radio, no rifle, just instinct and a lifetime of training that nobody bothered to ask about. The boot prints are already filling with fresh snow, but she doesn't need them. She reads the terrain the way other people read street signs. The angle of the slope tells her they're descending toward the valley floor. The wind direction tells her they're moving northeast. The way snow drifts against certain rocks tells her exactly where a 12-man team carrying 4 litters would choose to walk. Maggie taught her this, not in a classroom, in the wilderness, day after day. Winter after winter, until reading the land became as natural as breathing. More natural, maybe. You can forget to breathe when you're scared, but the land never lies if you know how to listen. The temperature is 40 below 0 now, maybe colder. Callahan's hands are numb inside her gloves despite the chemical hand warmers she activated. Her face feels like frozen leather behind the balaclava. Every breath burns her lungs, the cold air scorching her throat like acid. She keeps walking. The Rangers are moving slow because they're carrying wounded, because they're exhausted from the avalanche, because their medic is dead and nobody else knows how to keep 4 critical casualties alive while climbing through a mountain range in a blizzard at 40 below. Callahan is moving fast because she's small, and she's alone, and she's angry. Anger is fuel. Anger keeps you warm when nothing else will. 20 minutes pass, 30. The tracks are getting fresher. She's gaining on them. The wind is picking up, visibility dropping to maybe 30 feet. Good. The worse the weather, the better her chances of approaching unseen. From somewhere ahead, she hears gunfire. The sound stops her cold. Automatic weapons. AK-47s by the sound of it. The distinctive bark of Kalashnikov rifles cycling at 600 rounds per minute, and the slower, more deliberate cracks of M4 carbines returning fire. 700 to 950 rounds per minute, depending on the model. Contact. Callahan breaks into a run. Her legs are screaming. Her ribs are screaming. Everything hurts. She doesn't care. She runs faster, following the sound of battle like a moth following light, like a predator following blood. She crests a ridge and drops flat on her belly. Below her, maybe 300 meters away, she can see them. The Ranger team has taken cover behind a formation of ice-covered boulders. 4 litters are laid out in the center of their defensive perimeter. Dark shapes against white snow. 4 men not moving. Around them, Sutherland and 7 other Rangers are returning fire at an enemy force that has them surrounded on 3 sides. Callahan counts the muzzle flashes. 12, maybe 15. Militia fighters with AK-47s moving through the snow, like wolves circling wounded prey. They're not rushing. They're being patient, letting the Rangers burn through ammunition, waiting for the inevitable moment when the magazines run dry. The Rangers are losing. Callahan can tell by the way they're shooting. Controlled bursts at first the way they were trained, but now longer, more desperate volleys. They're running low on ammunition, running out of options, running out of time, and without a medic, the 4 men on those litters are going to die, even if the team wins this fight. Callahan studies the battlefield with clinical precision. The militia has the high ground on 2 sides, using natural rock formations for cover. Professional tactics. Someone trained them. The Rangers are pinned in a natural bowl with a cliff face behind them and nowhere to retreat. Classic kill box, textbook ambush. The kind of thing they teach at Ranger school so you learn how to avoid it. She looks at the wounded. Even from 300 meters away, she can see the blood. Dark stains spreading across the snow around the litters like ink on paper. Brennan, Holbrook, Dawson, Mallory, dying because she isn't there. Dying because Sutherland decided she wasn't worth saving. Callahan's jaw tightens. She scans the enemy positions and sees him, a militia fighter on the eastern cliff, maybe 80 meters from the Ranger position. He's setting up behind a boulder, taking his time, lining up a shot with what looks like an SVD Dragunov sniper rifle. Russian design, semi-automatic. Effective range out to 800 meters in good conditions. From his position and angle from the way he's aiming, Callahan knows exactly what he's targeting. Staff Sergeant Garrett Sutherland. The man who left her to die is about to die himself. The man who made the choice. The man who said 4 lives were worth more than 1. About to learn that sometimes the math changes. Callahan could let it happen. Could watch him take a bullet to the skull and call it justice. Call it karma. Call it what he deserves for leaving her buried in the snow. Instead, she draws her M17 pistol, 80 meters with a pistol, in a blizzard, shooting uphill at a moving target through wind that's gusting at 30 miles per hour. Impossible. Impossible just means nobody's tried hard enough yet. Callahan settles into a prone position, uses her medical pack as a rest, breathes out slowly, watching her breath fog in the frozen air. She knows her pistol, knows how it shoots, knows that at this range the bullet will drop maybe 15 inches, knows the wind will push it another 8 inches to the right. She knows all of this because her mother made her practice, made her shoot in conditions exactly like this, made her calculate and compensate and hit targets that shouldn't be hittable. The sniper is moving slowly, setting up his shot, not rushing, professional. Callahan compensates for wind, compensates for drop, leads the target. Between heartbeats, there's a space where the world goes quiet. She squeezes the trigger. The M17 kicks against her palm. The bullet flies 80 meters through wind and cold and snow and impossible odds. It hits the militia fighter's rifle right where the scope meets the receiver. The scope explodes in a shower of glass and metal. The fighter jerks back, his shot going wild, the rifle spinning out of his hands. He scrambles for cover, shouting in confusion, probably wondering what the hell just happened. Below, Garrett Sutherland flinches as a bullet whips past his head, 6 inches to the right instead of through his brain. He spins trying to locate the shooter who just missed him. Can't find him. The militia fighter is already gone, retreating behind the cliff face, probably trying to figure out why his rifle just exploded. Sutherland's voice cuts through the gunfire. Second shooter. Where the hell did that come from? The other Rangers scan the ridgeline, looking for whoever just saved their team leader's life. Looking everywhere except where Callahan actually is. They don't see her. She's already moving. She slides down the backside of the ridge and circles left, using the terrain to stay hidden. The militia fighters are focused on the Rangers now, distracted by the destroyed rifle and the mystery of what happened, wondering if they're facing a larger force than they thought. They don't see the small figure in winter camouflage crawling through the snow toward their position. Callahan covers 150 meters in 20 minutes. Every movement calculated. Every pause timed to the rhythm of gunfire. She learned this from her mother too. How to move when people aren't looking. How to be invisible in plain sight. How to become part of the landscape. She reaches the outer edge of the Ranger perimeter, 10 meters from the nearest litter. Wade Brennan. She can see him now. His face is gray, the color of ash. His chest is rising and falling in short, desperate gasps. Blood has soaked through the makeshift bandage someone tried to apply. They did it wrong. Too much pressure in the wrong place. Sucking chest wound. Air is getting into his chest cavity where it doesn't belong. Every breath is drowning him from the inside. He has maybe 10 minutes before his lung collapses completely. Callahan low crawls forward. 5 meters. 3. The gunfire above her is constant now. A wall of sound. The militia is pressing the attack. The Rangers are falling back, condensing their perimeter. Nobody's watching the casualties because nobody can spare the attention. She reaches Brennan and immediately goes to work. Her hands move with practiced precision despite the cold, despite the gloves, despite everything. She rips open her medical pack and pulls out a chest seal, a specialized adhesive patch designed to cover penetrating chest wounds and prevent air from entering the chest cavity. She tears open Brennan's uniform with her trauma shears, finds the entry wound, right lung just below the collarbone, maybe 2 inches across. Bubbling with blood and air, she can hear it, a wet sucking sound that means death is coming soon. She cleans the wound as best she can with frozen fingers and gauze that's already stiff with cold. Then she slaps the chest seal over it. The adhesive grabs. Despite the blood, despite the cold, the seal holds. The bubbling stops. Brennan's breathing immediately gets easier. His eyes flutter open. He sees her face and his expression goes through confusion, shock, and something that might be shame in the space of 2 seconds. Reeves, his voice is barely a whisper. Wet with blood. You're supposed to be dead. Callahan doesn't answer. She's already checking his vitals. Pulse weak but steady. Blood pressure low but not critical. Respiration improving. He'll live if they can get him out of here. If they can survive the next hour. She moves to the next litter. Specialist Travis Holbrook, 24 years old. Arterial bleed from his left thigh. Someone tried to apply a tourniquet but did it wrong. Too loose, too far from the wound. Holbrook is still bleeding out, just doing it slowly. He has maybe 20 minutes before he's bled out enough to go into irreversible shock. Callahan loosens the bad tourniquet and moves it higher, closer to his hip, cinches it tight with the windlass rod, turns it until the bleeding stops, secures it. Holbrook groans but doesn't wake up. That's probably better. This hurts. She checks her watch, makes a note on the tourniquet with permanent marker. Time applied, critical for when they get him to surgery, if they get him to surgery. Third litter, Private Eli Dawson, the kid she saved from the avalanche. The kid whose ankle she wrapped. He's conscious but shaking violently. Hypothermia. His lips are blue, his eyes are glazed and unfocused. He's mumbling something that doesn't make sense. Callahan wraps him in an emergency thermal blanket from her pack, the kind that reflects body heat. Then she starts an IV line with hands that can barely feel the needle. Warm saline. Not warm enough. It's been in her pack in 40 below temperatures. But it's warmer than his blood, and right now, that's what matters. The IV goes in on the first stick. Callahan secures it with tape that barely wants to stick in the cold. Checks the flow rate. Good. Fourth litter, Sergeant Duncan Mallory, head trauma. Someone applied a pressure bandage to a gash on his scalp. But that's not the problem. The problem is the bruising around his eyes. Raccoon eyes. Classic sign of a basilar skull fracture. Callahan stabilizes his neck with a cervical collar from her pack. Can't risk any movement that might sever his spinal cord if there's a fracture. Then she checks his pupils. Unequal. The right one is blown, barely reactive to her penlight. Not good. He needs a hospital, needs a neurosurgeon, needs things Callahan can't give him in the middle of a firefight on a frozen mountain. But she can keep him alive until they get there. She finishes with Mallory and looks up. Garrett Sutherland is standing 5 feet away, staring at her like he's seeing a ghost, like he's seeing the dead rise, like everything he knows about the world just stopped making sense. His face has gone white beneath the grime and frost. His weapon hangs loose in his hands. Forgotten. His mouth opens and closes twice before any sound comes out. Reeves. His voice cracks on the name like breaking ice. How did you? Callahan meets his eyes. Her voice is flat, cold as the wind, colder than the wind. I dug myself out. Now help me save them. Sutherland just stares. Behind him, Sergeant Mallory has regained consciousness and is trying to sit up despite the cervical collar. Callahan pushes him back down with one hand, firm but gentle. Stay still. You have a skull fracture. Moving could kill you. Mallory's voice is thick with confusion and head trauma. Jesus Christ, you're alive, apparently. Callahan turns back to Sutherland. Her eyes are ice. We need to move them now. Casevac can't reach us here, and the militia has us surrounded. How much ammunition do you have left? Sutherland blinks, tries to process. His brain seems to have stopped working. We thought you were gone. I made the call. I left you to... I know what you did. Callahan's voice could cut steel, could cut through bone. You left me to die because 4 was better than 5. I understand the math, Sergeant. I understand command decisions. Now answer my question. How much ammunition? Sutherland flinches like she slapped him. Like each word is a physical blow. Maybe 30 rounds per man. 5 minutes of sustained fire at most. Then we don't have time for sustained fire. Callahan looks at the terrain around them, at the cliff face behind them, at the militia positions above, at the angles and distances and possibilities. Her mind works through the tactical problem like a chess puzzle, like her mother teaching her to see 3 moves ahead. She points northeast. There's an ice chute on the north face. 400 meters that way. It descends 200 vertical meters to the valley floor. Steep but manageable if you know what you're doing. The militia won't expect it because nobody in their right mind would try to carry litters down a 60-degree ice slope in a blizzard. Sutherland stares at her. That chute is a death trap. Callahan looks at him, really looks at him, at this man who left her buried in the snow, who declared her dead to make his conscience easier, who chose 4 lives over 1 and is now confronted with the one who refused to stay dead. So was leaving me behind. But I'm still here. The words hang in the air between them like frost, like accusation, like truth. Sutherland looks at the 4 men on the litters, looks at Callahan, looks at his remaining 7 able-bodied Rangers who are running out of ammunition and options and time. He makes his choice. We follow Reeves. His voice carries across the perimeter. Cutting through the gunfire. 2 men per litter. Reeves leads navigation. I cover rear, move on my mark. The Rangers stare at him, then at Callahan. This woman who's supposed to be dead, who they left behind, who somehow found them anyway. Nobody argues. Callahan organizes them with quiet efficiency. No wasted words, no wasted motion. Mallory and another Ranger take Brennan. 2 more take Holbrook. The wounded Ranger, who took a round during the ambush, pairs with someone else for Dawson. Sutherland and the last man carry Mallory's unconscious form. We move fast, use the blizzard as cover. They can't see more than 20 meters in this. We'll be gone before they realize it. And if they follow us into the chute, Sutherland asks. Callahan's hand rests on the grip of her M17. Then they'll regret it. They move out. Callahan leads, picking a path through the ice and rock that somehow exists exactly where she needs it to. Like she can see through the blizzard. Like she knows this mountain the way she knows her own heartbeat. Behind her, the Rangers follow, carrying their wounded like pallbearers carrying coffins. Except these men aren't dead yet. Not while Callahan Reeves is still breathing. The militia is still firing. But they're shooting at shadows now, at positions the Rangers abandoned 30 seconds ago. By the time they realize their targets are gone, the team is 200 meters away and descending into the ice chute. The chute is everything Callahan promised. Steep, treacherous, absolutely insane to attempt with 4 litter patients in a blizzard at 40 below with limited visibility. They attempt it anyway. Callahan goes first, testing each foothold before committing her weight. The ice is hard as concrete and slick as glass. Friction doesn't exist here. One wrong step means a 200-meter slide to the rocks below, a slide that ends in death. She doesn't take any wrong steps. Behind her, the Rangers follow her exact path, step for step, foothold for foothold, trusting this woman they left for dead because she's the only one who seems to know where the hell she's going, because she's the only one keeping them alive. The wind howls through the chute like a living thing trying to tear them loose. Snow swirls in vortexes that steal breath and sight. Visibility drops to 10 feet, 5 feet. Callahan navigates by feel, by memory. By instinct she can't explain even to herself. The mountain speaks if you know how to listen. They're 50 meters down when disaster strikes. A section of ice gives way beneath the litter carrying Wade Brennan. The 2 Rangers holding it lose their footing simultaneously. The litter starts sliding toward the edge of the chute, toward a 100-meter drop, toward certain death. Callahan sees it happening in slow motion. The litter picking up speed. The Rangers scrambling for purchase. Finding nothing. Brennan unconscious and helpless, sliding toward oblivion. She doesn't think. Thinking takes time they don't have. She just moves. She launches herself down the slope, sliding on her side, using her body as a brake and her medical pack as an anchor. Her hands find the litter frame just as it reaches the edge of the drop. Her fingers close on metal and nylon. She holds on. The weight yanks her forward. Her boots slide on ice. 50 feet from the drop. 40. Callahan digs her heels into the ice. Her gloves start to tear. She can feel skin ripping, feel blood starting to flow. The litter keeps pulling her forward. Gravity is stronger than grip. Physics doesn't care about determination. 30 feet. She screams with effort. Pure animal rage at the mountain for trying to take another one. At the cold for trying to kill them. At the universe for making her fight this hard just to keep breathing. Just to keep others breathing. 20 feet. A hand grabs her harness from behind. Garrett Sutherland. He's abandoned his own litter and is pulling her back with everything he has. With strength born of desperation or guilt or both. 15 feet, two more Rangers join, all of them hauling backward against the weight of the litter and gravity and death itself. Their boots slip. They dig in, slip again, hold. 10 feet. They stop sliding 5 feet from the edge. For a moment, nobody moves. Nobody breathes. They just hang there on the ice, holding on, refusing to let go, refusing to let another one die. Then slowly, inch by impossible inch, they pull Brennan back from the edge. When it's over, Callahan's hands are bleeding inside her shredded gloves. She can feel the wetness, feel the burn. Sutherland is gasping like he just ran a marathon. The other Rangers look like they've aged 10 years in 10 seconds. Callahan stands up on shaking legs, checks Brennan, still unconscious, still breathing. Chest seal still in place, IV still running. He's alive. She looks at Sutherland. We keep moving. Sutherland looks at her hands, at the blood dripping onto the ice, steaming in the cold. Reeves, you're injured. We keep moving, Sergeant. Her voice is ice and fire. Absolute zero in the heart of a furnace. That's not my name to you. You left me to die, Sutherland. You don't get to use my first name. You don't get to care about my hands. You don't get to pretend we're friends or comrades or anything except what we are. She pauses. You get to follow my orders and help me keep your men alive. That's it. That's all you get. Sutherland's face crumbles like something inside him just broke beyond repair. I know. I know what I did, and I'll carry it for the rest of my life. But right now, please let me help you. Callahan stares at him, at this man who made an impossible choice and got it wrong. Who saved 4 lives by sacrificing one except the one refused to be sacrificed. Who's now learning what it costs to be wrong about who's expendable. You want to help, pick up your litter and follow me. She turns and continues down the chute. Sutherland picks up his litter and follows. They don't speak again. They reach the bottom 40 minutes later. Every one of them is shaking from exhaustion and cold and adrenaline crash. But they're alive. All of them. Against odds that should have killed them 3 times over. Callahan immediately checks her patients. Adjusts IVs, checks bandages. Monitors vitals. She works with mechanical precision. Ignoring her bleeding hands. Ignoring the pain in her ribs. Ignoring everything except the 4 men who need her. Brennan, stable. Breathing easier. Color improving. Holbrook. Tourniquet holding. No further bleeding. Still unconscious, but pulse is strong. Dawson. Core temperature rising. Shivering has decreased. Good sign. Mallory. Still unconscious. Pupils still unequal. Needs a neurosurgeon, but stable enough to transport. When she's satisfied they're as stable as she can make them, Callahan allows herself 30 seconds to rest. 30 seconds to close her eyes and just breathe. That's when the militia attacks again. 6 fighters burst from an ice cave 50 meters away. They must have circled around during the chute descent. Must have known there was only one way down and waited in ambush. It's the perfect trap. The Rangers are scattered, exhausted, low on ammunition, carrying wounded. They're in the worst possible position to defend themselves. The militia opens fire. A Ranger goes down, hit in the shoulder. Another dives for cover behind a boulder. Sutherland tries to return fire, but his magazine is nearly empty. 3 rounds left, maybe 4. The militia advances, 30 meters, 20, taking their time. They know they've won. They can see it in the Rangers' faces. See the exhaustion, see the defeat. Callahan watches it all happen. Watches her team, the team that abandoned her, about to be slaughtered. She makes a decision. She drops her medical pack, draws her M17 pistol, and runs straight at the enemy. Sutherland screams. Reeves, no. But Callahan is already gone, already moving, using the blizzard, using the terrain, becoming the ghost again. The militia fighters see movement and swing their weapons toward it. They fire. Rounds snap through the space where Callahan was a second ago, but she's not there anymore. She angles left, disappears behind a boulder. The militia lose sight of her. They're scanning, searching, confused. Where did she go? Callahan comes up on their flank. 10 meters away, she steps out from cover. 2 hands on her pistol, proper isosceles stance, the way her mother taught her, aims, fires 2 rounds. Center mass, the first militia fighter drops before he knows she's there. The others spin toward her. She's already moving, already behind different cover. They fire at where she was, hit nothing but ice and rock. She appears again, different angle, 45 degrees from their position. They never see her coming until she's already shooting. 3 more rounds, second fighter down, 4 left. They're backing up now, trying to get distance, trying to regroup. This isn't going how they planned. Callahan's pistol locks open, empty magazine. She drops it, pulls a fresh one from her belt. Her hands are slick with blood, and her fingers are numb, and the magazine doesn't want to seat. She slaps it hard. It clicks home. The militia sees their chance. They advance, all 4 of them. Weapons up, 15 meters. They're going to cut her down in the open. Callahan slams the slide release, chambers around, raises the weapon. She tracks the nearest one, fires. 1 shot. His head snaps back. He drops. She pivots. Second fighter. He gets a shot off. The bullet cracks past Callahan's ear. Close enough to feel the pressure wave. Close enough to hear death whisper her name. She doesn't flinch. Just tracks him. Leads him. Squeezes. He clutches his chest and falls. 2 left, 1 directly ahead. 1 flanking. The flanker fires. Callahan feels the impact. Something hits her shoulder, punches through. She spins with the impact. Stays on her feet. She's been shot. Doesn't matter. She tracks the flanker. Fires twice. He goes down. 1 left. Dead ahead. 10 meters. He's bringing his weapon up. Callahan is faster. 3 rounds. Center mass. He drops. Silence. Except for the wind, Callahan stands in the snow, pistol raised, breathing hard. Around her 6 bodies. She killed 5 of them in less than 30 seconds. With a sidearm, in a blizzard. The shoulder wound is bleeding. She can feel warmth spreading down her arm, can feel her left hand starting to go numb. Doesn't matter, not yet. The Rangers stare at her from their positions. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. They're looking at her like she's something out of mythology, like she's not quite human. Sergeant Mallory is the first to find his voice. Holy Mother of God. Callahan holsters her weapon with her right hand. Her left isn't working properly anymore. Picks up her medical pack with her good arm. Walks back to her patients like she just went for a stroll. Like she didn't just kill 5 men and take a bullet. Brennan is stable. Holbrook's tourniquet is holding. Dawson's core temperature is coming up. Mallory is still unconscious, but his vitals are steady. She looks at Sutherland. Her face is pale. How far to the extraction point? Sutherland just stares at her. His face is white. His hands are shaking. Reeves, you're hit. How far, Sergeant? 2 kilometers. Maybe less. His voice is barely a whisper. Callahan, who are you? She looks at him with those ice blue eyes. I'm the medic you left to die. The one who crawled out of her own grave. The one who tracked you through a blizzard and saved the men you couldn't save because you thought I was gone. She pauses. Blood is dripping from her fingertips now. I'm the person who's been here all along. You just never bothered to look. Sutherland opens his mouth, closes it. He looks like a man who just realized he bet everything on the wrong card and lost everything that mattered. Callahan turns to the rest of the team. We have 2 kilometers to extract. The militia knows we're here and they're going to bring reinforcements. We move now and we move fast. Any questions? Silence. Good. Someone help me with this shoulder. Then let's go. They move out. But something has changed. The Rangers aren't looking at Callahan like she's a liability anymore. They're looking at her like she's a force of nature. Like she's something that belongs in mythology, not military uniform. And Garrett Sutherland walks behind her. Watching this woman navigate the frozen wilderness like she was born to it, and understands that he didn't just make a mistake on that mountain. He made the worst mistake of his life. He left behind the only person who could save them. And somehow, impossibly, she came back anyway. Not for him, for them, for the men who needed her. Even though their leader threw her away. The blizzard howls, the mountain groans, and somewhere ahead the extraction point waits. But first they have 2 more kilometers of hell to walk through, with Callahan Reeves leading the way. The woman they buried, the woman who refused to stay dead, the woman who is saving them, whether they deserve it or not. The extraction point is a frozen lake 2 kilometers northeast of their position. Callahan knows this because she studied the mission maps while everyone else assumed she'd be useless. She knows the wind patterns that make it safe for helicopter landings, knows where the ice is thick enough to support a UH-60 Blackhawk, knows the approach vectors that minimize exposure to ground fire. Knowledge nobody asked for because they never thought they'd need it. They need it now. The team moves in disciplined silence through the blizzard. Callahan leads despite the bullet wound in her shoulder. One of the Rangers wrapped it with pressure bandages torn from a first aid kit. The fabric is already soaked through, dark red against white snow. But the bleeding is venous. Dark, steady, not the bright arterial spurting that means minutes to live. She can function. She can lead. She checks each patient as they move. Quick visual assessments. Brennan's lips have color now. The chest seal working. Holbrook's tourniquet marker shows 40 minutes since application, still within the golden hour. Dawson's shivering has decreased, core temperature rising. Mallory's eyes are tracking movement, responsive to stimulus. All 4 still viable. All 4 still savable. If they can reach the helicopter. Behind them, somewhere in the white void, the militia is regrouping. Callahan can feel it the way her mother taught her to feel weather changes. The pressure drop before a storm. The shift in wind that means danger coming. They have maybe 15 minutes before this mountain becomes a killing field again. Sutherland moves up beside her, his face is grim beneath the frost. Reeves, let me take point. You're wounded. You've done enough. Not yet. Her voice is flat, final, when they're on that helicopter. Then I've done enough. Callahan stops walking, holds up a fist. The team halts immediately. 8 Rangers dropping into defensive positions without needing orders. 4 litters lowered carefully to the snow. She's heard something, a mechanical hum cutting through the wind. Low frequency, rhythmic, the kind of sound that doesn't belong in wilderness. Down, she hisses. Everyone down, now. Callahan crawls forward to a ridge overlooking the extraction point. Her shoulder screams with every movement. She ignores it. Pain is just information. Information she doesn't have time to process. What she sees turns her blood colder than the wind ever could. The lake stretches out below. Perfect landing zone. Flat ice for half a kilometer. But on the eastern ridge, 400 meters away, she spots them. 6 militia fighters in tactical positions around a Strela 2 surface-to-air missile launcher. Russian design. Shoulder-fired, heat-seeking, effective range 3,000 meters. One shot could turn a Blackhawk into a fireball before the pilots even knew they were being tracked. And standing beside the launcher, directing the fighters with professional hand signals, is a man who carries himself like a soldier. Not militia, not insurgent, special forces. Even from 400 meters, Callahan can see the scar running down the left side of his face, can see the way he moves. Economy of motion, tactical awareness. Scanning sectors like someone trained to fight wars, not just survive them. She's seen men like this before. In Iraq, in Afghanistan. Professionals who sold their skills to the highest bidder when their government stopped paying. Dangerous. Callahan slides back to Sutherland. We have a problem. She explains what she saw. The AA position. The 6 fighters. The man with the scar who moves like Spetsnaz or SAS or something equally lethal. Sutherland's jaw tightens. They were waiting for us. They knew the extraction point. Doesn't matter how. Matters that any helicopter that comes in gets shot down. And we can't call for fire support in this weather. Nothing's flying except our ride out, and it can't come in until that launcher is gone. Callahan's mind is already working through the geometry. Wind speed, distance, approach angles, the mathematics of violence. Sutherland looks at his 7 able-bodied Rangers. 2 are wounded, 3 are exhausted, 1 is barely standing. We assault, all of us. Overwhelming force. Hit them before they can react. No, Callahan's voice cuts like a blade. You have 4 critical casualties who will die without monitoring. 2 wounded Rangers, 3 exhausted men. You want to assault a fortified position with a crew-served weapon across 400 meters of open ground against professional fighters. She meets his eyes. That's not tactics. That's desperation pretending to be courage. Then what? Sutherland's voice cracks slightly, the professional veneer finally showing fractures. What do we do, Reeves? Because I don't have any good options here. Callahan looks at the ridge, at the militia position, at the impossible distance, and the professional enemy, and the mathematics that say they're all going to die here. Then she looks at the four litters, at the men she saved, at the people who need her to find one more impossible solution. I go alone. Absolutely not. Sutherland's response is immediate, forceful. I already left you once. I won't send you to die again. You're not sending me. I'm choosing to go. Callahan's voice is calm, matter of fact, like discussing patrol routes instead of suicide missions. Small target, solo infiltration, use terrain and weather for concealment. Get close enough to neutralize the launcher before they know I'm there. You'll be outnumbered 6-1. Against professionals, 7-1 if you count the one with the scar. And yes, I know. She picks up the AK-47 from the dead militia fighter, checks the magazine. 30 rounds, pulls her M17. One magazine left, 17 rounds, 47 rounds for 7 targets. I've worked with less. You're wounded, you can barely lift your left arm. I shoot right-handed. Left arm just stabilizes. I can manage. Sutherland grabs her shoulder. Not the wounded one. The good one. His grip is desperate. Reeves, Callahan, please. There has to be another way. Callahan looks at him, really looks at him. This man who made the worst decision of his life and has been drowning in it ever since. This man who declared her dead and has been seeing her ghost every time he closes his eyes. There isn't. You know there isn't. You made a choice on that ridge to save 4 instead of 5. Now I'm making a choice to save 12 instead of 1. She pulls free from his grip. Gently but firmly. The difference is I'm choosing myself. Nobody's abandoning me this time. And if you don't come back, Callahan looks at the 4 litters one more time. At Brennan and Holbrook and Dawson and Mallory. At the men she pulled back from death. Then you radio that helicopter and you get them out. You carry them home. You make sure they live long enough to tell their kids about the medic who wouldn't quit. She pauses. But I'm coming back, because I didn't dig myself out of 10 feet of snow just to die on a frozen lake 400 meters from safety. Sutherland stares at her. His eyes are wet. Whether from wind or emotion, Callahan can't tell. Get on the radio. Tell that pilot to be ready. The second that launcher goes down, he comes in hot, and he doesn't stop for anything. Sutherland nods once, unable to speak. Callahan turns toward the ridge, toward the impossible distance and the professional killers in the mathematics of survival. Behind her, Sergeant Mallory's voice. Quiet, reverent. You're the best of us, Senior Chief. Come back and teach us how to be like you. Callahan doesn't turn around. I'm not the best. I'm just the one who won't quit. And she disappears into the blizzard. The approach takes 20 minutes. 300 meters of belly crawling through ice and snow and pain that threatens to white out her vision with every movement. Her shoulder is screaming. The wound has reopened. She can feel blood running down her arm inside her sleeve, warm against frozen skin. But pain is just information, and she's choosing not to process it. 70 meters from the AA position, she stops, observes. 6 fighters in a textbook defensive perimeter, overlapping fields of fire, proper spacing, 2 on the launcher itself, 4 providing security, and all of them moving with purpose, with training, and the man with the scar, standing behind the launcher. Binoculars scanning the approaches, radio in hand, coordinating, commanding. She can hear him now. Faint Russian accented English cutting through the wind. Sector 3 clear. Maintain position. Helicopter is inbound. 20 minutes. So they know. They've been tracking the rescue bird, waiting for it. This isn't random militia with stolen weapons. This is a coordinated ambush by professionals. Callahan watches the patrol pattern. One fighter walks a circuit that brings him 50 meters from the main position every 4 minutes. When he's isolated, she'll have maybe 45 seconds before someone notices he's gone. She waits. Patience is survival. Rushing is death. 4 minutes pass like hours. The fighter begins his circuit. 40 meters from the group. 45. 50. Callahan rises, moves like smoke, like wind, like something that doesn't exist until it's already too late. The fighter never hears her, never sees her, just feels her arm around his throat, cutting off air and blood to his brain simultaneously. 10 seconds. 15. He goes limp. She lowers him silently, takes his AK, checks the magazine. Full. 60 rounds total now. Better odds. 50 meters from the launcher, she settles behind a boulder. Good sight lines. Solid cover. Her shoulder is throbbing. Her vision is starting to tunnel at the edges from blood loss. Doesn't matter. She just needs 5 more minutes. 5 minutes of function before the systems start failing. She brings the AK to her shoulder, sights on the fighter farthest from the group, the one most exposed, the one who will take longest to reach cover. This is where stealth dies and chaos is born. She breathes out, squeezes. The AK barks. The fighter drops, 5 left. The reaction is instant. Professional. Textbook. They scatter to cover positions, scanning for threats. No panic, no confusion, just trained response to contact. The man with the scar drops behind the launcher and barks orders in Russian. His voice carries authority. Command presence. 1 shooter burn. Northwest sector. Suppress and on flank. Callahan is already moving, sprinting left to a new position 40 meters away. The fighters open fire on her old location. Controlled bursts, proper fire discipline. She stops behind different cover, leans out. 3-round burst. Another fighter drops. 4 left plus the scarred commander. The commander's voice cuts through the gunfire. Professional tactics. Single operator. Likely special forces. Do not underestimate. His English is heavily accented, but clear. And his assessment is accurate. He knows what he's facing. Dangerous. The 2 fighters on the launcher try to swing it toward Callahan's position, trying to use the missile against a ground target. Desperation or innovation? Either way, bad idea. Callahan puts 2 rounds into the gunner before he can complete the traverse. He falls away from the weapon. 3 left plus commander. The remaining fighters are repositioning, trying to flank her, trying to get crossfire. They're good, trained, coordinated, but they're thinking like soldiers, thinking about tactics and fire superiority and maneuver. Callahan is thinking like someone who's already died once today and refused to stay dead. She breaks from cover, runs straight at them. Closing distance, eliminating their advantage of range and firepowers by getting inside their decision loop. 60 meters, 50, 40. They see her coming, start to react. But she's already firing, moving and shooting. The way her mother taught her in the Alaskan wilderness when she was 12 years old, and learning that survival isn't about being stronger. It's about being more committed to living than they are to killing you. The nearest fighter goes down, center mass, 2 rounds. 2 left plus commander. The second fighter swings toward her, gets a shot off. The round cracks past her head so close she feels the pressure wave. So close it parts her hair. She doesn't flinch, just tracks him, leads him, fires, he falls. 1 fighter left, and the commander. The last fighter breaks, runs. Smart choice. Survival instinct overriding orders. Callahan lets him go. She's not here for body count. She's here for the launcher. Which leaves just her and the man with the scar. He steps out from behind the launcher. A K in hand, not pointing at her, not pointing away, just held ready. Professional neutral. 50 meters between them. Snow falling, wind howling. He looks at her, really looks at her. At the blood soaking through her shoulder. At the exhaustion in her stance. At the absolute refusal to quit burning in her eyes. You are the one they left behind. His English is good despite the accent. Russian Special Forces. Spetsnaz, probably. The scar and the age and the competence all fit. I am. Callahan's voice is steady. Her weapon trained on his center mass. His trained on hers. Mexican standoff at 50 meters in a blizzard at 40 below. They declared you dead. They did. But you came back. I did. The man with the scar nods slowly, something like respect in his eyes. I would have done the same. If my unit left me, I would crawl through hell to prove them wrong. He pauses. You fight well. Better than expected. Better than you should given your wounds. Thank you. It is not compliment. It is observation. He shifts slightly, his finger moving toward the trigger. But I have job. I am paid to stop helicopter. You are in my way. I know. Callahan's finger is already on her trigger. She can see his micro movements, can read his intention, can see the decision forming before he acts on it. Her mother's voice in her memory. Between heartbeats, there is a space where the world goes quiet. They move simultaneously. 2 professionals, 2 warriors, 2 people who refuse to lose. But Callahan has one advantage he doesn't know about. She's already dead, already declared KIA, already buried and mourned and written off, which means she has nothing left to lose. Her trigger breaks first, by maybe 1/10 of a second. By the time it takes a human nervous system to process the decision to fire and transmit it to muscle. 3 rounds, center mass. The man with the scar falls, his shots going wide. Cracking into ice where Callahan was a heartbeat ago, he hits the ground and doesn't move. Callahan walks to him, weapon still raised, still ready. She's seen too many enemies play dead, but this one isn't playing. His eyes are open, staring at the gray sky, at the snow falling, at nothing. She kneels beside him, checks for pulse. Nothing. I'm sorry, she says it quietly. To the dead man who was just doing his job, who probably had his own reasons for being here, who fought well and died professional, but not sorry enough to have let him win. She turns to the Strela 2 launcher. For a moment, she considers trying to disable it properly, but she's losing blood fast now. Her vision is starting to gray at the edges. She has maybe 5 minutes of consciousness left, so she does what her mother taught her. If you can't fix it, destroy it completely. She pulls grenades from the dead fighters. 4 RGD-5s, Russian fragmentation. Old but reliable, clusters them around the launcher's guidance system. Jury rigs a tripwire with paracord. Anyone tries to use this weapon, it explodes. Then she pulls the pin on the last grenade, drops it in the launcher tube, runs 20 meters before the explosion. The blast wave catches her, lifts her, throws her forward into the snow. Secondary explosions as the missiles cook off. The Strela 2 turning into shrapnel and twisted metal and fire. Callahan lies in the snow, ears ringing, vision swimming. Her shoulder wound has reopened completely, blood spreading across a white snow like ink on paper. She keys her radio with shaking hands. A position neutralized. LZ clear. Her voice is barely a whisper. Static. Then the pilot. Ranger Medical, this is Rescue 41. Did you just... Was that you? Affirmative. Enemy AA destroyed. I'm northwest of LZ, 400 meters. Team is holding position at Rally Point Delta. Ma'am, you're listed as KIA. Callahan almost laughs, but laughing hurts too much. Third time today. Tell them I'm still not staying dead. 5 minutes out. 3 minutes. We're inbound hot. Can you make it to the LZ negative? Can't walk. Blood loss. But the team can. Sutherland has 4 critical casualties. Get them out. And you, Callahan, looks at the blood spreading around her, at the way her hands are shaking, at the gray creeping in from the edges of her vision. I'll manage. She closes her eyes, just for a second, just to rest. When she opens them again, Garrett Sutherland is kneeling beside her. His face is white. His hands are shaking as he pulls a trauma bandage from his kit. Jesus Christ, Reeves, you're bleeding out. I noticed. Her voice is dreamy, distant, like she's watching this happen to someone else. The launcher gone. All of them gone. Your bird can land. Sutherland is wrapping her shoulder. His hands are competent, but his face is devastated. You did it. You actually did it. Had to. Couldn't let them die. Not after everything. Behind Sutherland, she can see the other Rangers carrying the litters toward the lake, toward the helicopter that's landing now. Rotors kicking up walls of snow. They're going to make it. Callahan says it with satisfaction, with finality, because of you. Sutherland lifts her. She weighs nothing. Feels like she's floating. We're all going to make it, including you. I'm not losing you again. Didn't lose me the first time. I'm harder to kill than that. The helicopter is massive. Gray against white. Door gunner providing cover. Flight medic reaching out to help load the litters. Brennan first, then Holbrook, Dawson, Mallory, all 4 loaded, all 4 alive. Sutherland carries Callahan up the ramp, laser on the metal floor. The flight medic is already working. IV lines, pressure dressings, professional hands moving with a practice speed. Ma'am, can you hear me? Callahan nods. Can't speak anymore. Doesn't have the energy. You saved 4 lives today with field medicine. Best trauma care I've seen in 20 years. Who taught you, my mother? The words are barely audible. She must have been one hell of a medic. She was one hell of a woman. The helicopter lifts. Callahan can feel the lurch, the acceleration, the blessed moment when they're airborne and away and safe. She did it. She saved them all. The darkness comes gently this time. Not violent like the avalanche, just soft and warm and welcoming. Like sleep, like peace, like finally being allowed to rest. 3 days later, Callahan wakes in a hospital bed. The first thing she sees is white ceiling, fluorescent lights, the sterile smell of antiseptic and clean sheets. Not snow, not ice, not death. She's alive. Her hands are bandaged. Her shoulder is immobilized. Something is beeping steadily. Heart monitor, R. IV drip, the sounds of medicine keeping her alive. A doctor enters. Army colonel rank, older woman with kind eyes. Welcome back, Senior Chief. You gave us quite a scare. The others. First thing she asks, only thing that matters, all 4 casualties are stable. Brennan and Holbrook are out of ICU. Dawson is already walking. Mallory woke up yesterday. Full neurological function. The neurosurgeon called it a miracle. The doctor pauses. He asked about you. They all did. Every hour until we could tell them you'd make it. Callahan closes her eyes, relief washing through her like warm water. They lived. They did. Because of you. How long was I out? 3 days. You needed 2 surgeries. The shoulder wound was complicated. But you'll make a full recovery. When can I go back to duty? Not for 6 weeks minimum. You lost a lot of blood. Your body needs time. The doctor pulls up a chair, sits beside the bed. There's going to be an investigation. Questions. A lot of attention. What you did out there, people are calling it extraordinary. I was just doing my job. Your job is combat medicine. What you did was lead a tactical assault, eliminate 7 enemy combatants while wounded, destroy an anti-aircraft position, and save 12 lives. The doctor smiles slightly. That's a bit beyond the job description. Callahan doesn't respond, just stares at the ceiling. Staff Sergeant Sutherland has been here every day, sitting in the hallway. He's not allowed in yet, but he won't leave. Says he needs to talk to you. Tell him I'm not ready. I will. But Reeves, whatever happened out there between you two, he's carrying it like a wound. Might be worth hearing him out. When you're ready? Maybe. Callahan's voice is soft, non-committal. The doctor stands. Rest. Heal. The world can wait a few more days. And she leaves Callahan alone with the white ceiling and the beeping monitors and the knowledge that she survived. Again. The formal hearing happens 2 weeks later. Callahan sits at a table in dress uniform, her shoulder still in a sling. Across from her, 3 officers, a colonel, a brigadier general, a JAG captain. They've heard from everyone else, the Rangers, the pilots, the surgeons. Now they want her story. But first they call Garrett Sutherland. He stands at attention in his dress uniform and tells them everything. The avalanche, the impossible choice, the decision to leave Callahan behind. Every word spoken with the careful precision of a man who knows he's ending his career. When he's done, the general leans forward, and your assessment of Petty Officer Reeves Sutherland takes a breath. Before the avalanche, I saw her as a liability. Small, quiet, unproven. I underestimated her completely. He pauses. After the avalanche, I watched her do the impossible. She navigated hostile terrain without equipment, provided life-saving medical care under fire, led my team through conditions that should have killed us all, eliminated multiple enemy combatants, destroyed an enemy weapon system, all while wounded and having every reason to leave us to die. Another pause. She is the most capable soldier I have ever served with, and I failed her in the worst way possible. I declared her dead to justify abandoning her. That failure is mine alone. Do you believe you made the right decision? Sutherland looks at Callahan, holds her gaze. No, sir. I made the expedient decision. The easy decision. Not the right one. The right decision would have been to trust that she could survive, that she was stronger than I gave her credit for, that underestimating people can cost lives. He turns back to the panel. I recommend Petty Officer Reeves for the Silver Star, and I request a formal reprimand for myself. The general makes notes, says nothing. Then it's Callahan's turn. She stands, approaches the table. Her shoulder aches, but she doesn't show it. Petty Officer Reeves, the general's voice is measured, clinical. Why did you go back, sir, after being abandoned, after being declared dead? You could have returned to the LZ, called for extraction, saved yourself. Why risk your life for the team that left you? Callahan considers the question, thinks about all the easy answers, duty, honor, training, tells them the truth instead. Because they needed me, sir, and because leaving them would have meant accepting what Sergeant Sutherland decided I was worth. Nothing. She pauses. I didn't go back to prove anything to them. I went back to prove something to myself. That I'm the kind of person who doesn't quit, who doesn't abandon people. Even when they abandon me. The general studies her for a long moment. You eliminated 11 enemy combatants, destroyed an anti-aircraft position, led a tactical extraction under fire, all while wounded. That's beyond the scope of a combat medic. I did what was necessary to complete the mission. Did you exceed your authority? No, sir. A medic's authority is to preserve life. That's what I did. By killing 7 people, Callahan's voice doesn't waver. By ensuring 12 people lived. The general nods slowly. Dismissed, both of you. We'll render our decision within 48 hours. The decision comes 2 days later. Staff Sergeant Garrett Sutherland receives a formal letter of reprimand. His career is effectively over. No more promotions, no more advancement. The ceiling he'll retire under. He accepts it without protest, signs the paperwork, takes the punishment like a man who finally found something he deserves. Petty Officer First Class Callahan Reeves is promoted to Senior Chief Petty Officer, awarded the Silver Star for conspicuous gallantry under fire. The citation is read at a full battalion ceremony 3 weeks later. Callahan stands at attention while a 3-star general pins the medal to her chest. The weight of it is surprising, heavier than she expected. The applause is thunderous. 2 minutes of standing ovation from 400 Rangers who know exactly what she did. In the crowd, she sees them. Brennan and Holbrook on crutches but standing. Dawson at attention. Mallory in civilian clothes, medical discharge papers already filed, but here anyway because he wouldn't miss this. And in the back, not in formation, Garrett Sutherland, watching with eyes that hold nothing but respect and permanent loss. After the ceremony, he approaches. The crowd parts for him. Everyone knows the story now. The sergeant who left his medic, the medic who saved them anyway. He stops 3 feet from her. Senior Chief? Sergeant. Silence. The weight of everything unsaid pressing down like atmosphere. I've been reassigned. Northern Warfare Training Center. I'll be teaching cold weather survival. Seems appropriate. He tries to smile. Fails. You're assigned there too. As senior medical instructor, I'll be working under your command. Callahan nods. Says nothing. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. I just want you to know that what I did, it's something I'll carry every day for the rest of my life. I know, Callahan's voice is quiet. Not cold, not warm, just factual. Good. Sutherland blinks, not expecting that response. Good, you should carry it, not as punishment, as reminder that the people you underestimate might be the ones who save your life, that assumptions can kill, that being wrong about someone's value is worse than being wrong about tactics. She pauses. Carry it. Learn from it. Teach others not to make the same mistake. Sutherland nods, something like relief in his eyes. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. Purpose, I will. He turns to leave. Stops. Reeves, Callahan, you're the best soldier I've ever known, and I'm sorry I had to fail you to figure that out. He walks away before she can respond. Callahan stands alone in the emptying ceremony hall, the medal heavy on her chest, the weight of survival settling into her bones. Sergeant Mallory approaches. Civilian clothes, honorable discharge, medical retirement for the head injury. Senior Chief, he says, tried to smile. Got my discharge papers. Mild traumatic brain injury. Nothing that'll kill me, but enough to end the career. I'm sorry. Don't be. I gotta go home to my wife and kids because of you. That's worth more than rank. He pulls something from his pocket. The 75th Ranger Regiment challenge coin. The team wanted you to have this. All of us. Even Sutherland. Callahan takes it, feels the weight, the meaning. Thank you. Mallory looks at her seriously. What you did out there, that's the stuff we tell our grandkids about. The medic who wouldn't die, who wouldn't quit, who saved us all when we didn't deserve saving. I just did my job. No, you did something more. You showed us what we could be if we tried half as hard as you did. He salutes. Sharp, precise, respectful. It's been an honor, Senior Chief. And he leaves. Callahan stands alone. Medal on her chest. Coin in her hand. The weight of everything she survived pressing down. But she's still standing, still breathing, still refusing to quit. 6 months later, Northern Warfare Training Center, Alaska, November again. The cycle continuing. Callahan stands in front of a classroom. 30 students, 28 men, 2 women, all of them looking at her like she's just another instructor. They'll learn. She writes on the board in clear, precise letters. Lesson 1, survival is a choice. Turns to face them. I was buried alive. 10 feet of snow. My team declared me KIA and left me behind. Temperature was 40 below. I had no radio, no rifle, no way out except what I could create. The room goes silent. I made a choice. To dig, to fight, to survive, and then to save the people who abandoned me. Not because they deserved it, but because that's what medics do. We save lives. Even when it costs us everything. She pauses. Some of you will fail this course. Not because you're not strong enough, but because you'll quit when it gets hard. When it hurts. When people tell you that you can't. Her ice blue eyes sweep the room. I'm here to teach you that can't is a lie. That impossible is just a word, that the only person who decides if you survive is you. She sets down the chalk. Now get your gear. We have a mountain to climb. The students file out, talking quietly, excited, nervous. The last one to leave is a young woman, small, quiet, nervous eyes. She stops at the door. Senior Chief, I'm PFC Quinn Ashford. I just wanted to say, I heard what you did, and it gives me hope. Because people look at me and see someone who doesn't belong. Someone too small, too weak. Callahan looks at her, sees herself at that age. What do you see when you look at yourself? Quinn thinks about it. Someone who won't quit. Callahan nods once. Then that's all that matters. Show them who you are, not who they think you should be. Quinn smiles, leaves. Callahan stands alone in the empty classroom. Through the window, the Alaska Range stretches away. Frozen peaks under gray sky. Beautiful and brutal and home. Somewhere out there, Garrett Sutherland is teaching another class, learning humility, learning to see people for who they are instead of who he assumes them to be. Somewhere out there, Brennan and Holbrook are back on active duty. Dawson is serving with distinction. Mallory is home with his family, teaching his kids about the medic who wouldn't quit. All of them alive because Callahan Reeves refused to stay buried. She picks up her gear and walks toward the door, toward the mountain, toward the next group of students who need to learn that survival is a choice. She was declared dead, buried alive, abandoned. But she rose. She fought. She saved them anyway. Not for medals, not for recognition, not even for forgiveness, but because that's who she is. Someone who does what's right even when it costs everything. Who saves lives even when those lives didn't value hers. Who refuses to quit even when quitting would be easier. Callahan Reeves walks out into the Alaskan cold. The mountain is waiting, and she's not afraid. She never was.